My name is Miss Lizzie. I don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditties. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys. Miss Liz in the house. That's right. It is Monday and it is a surprise tea time because it is not my regular scheduled days. Tuesdays and Thursdays are Miss Liz's scheduled day, but I slid in a couple of special guest in this week on Monday and Friday. So stay tuned because it's a full week for tea time. Let's get started with tonight's guest. We have Deborah Wilde in the house, and we're going to be talking about her tea tonight. And her tea is tongue-in-cheek, entertaining, and audacity. We talked about the word just before we went live, and I was just like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. And I did it. So that is the tea we are serving tonight. But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Roll over to those platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Clapper, Lemon8, and Blue Sky, all of those good platforms. Give those a like, follow, subscribe, and get these tea times out there because they do make a difference for the guests and for listeners that resonate with the topics that come to the table. Also, jump over to the podcast apps, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, and Spotify, and all the ones that Miss Liz hasn't mentioned. I'm on all of those as well. Check those out as well. And also jump over to babyboomers.org because Miss Liz is partnered with babyboomers.org. And if you're looking for something different and Miss Liz is not bringing that to the table and you're looking for something a little spicier or a little on the mellow side, you can check out 50 plus podcasts over there and get yourself featured on that as well. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro. And then we're going to get Deborah in here and we're going to spill some tea and have some fun tonight. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action that relate to the discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time at Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time at Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where stories remind us that courage often comes disguised as humor, resilience, and the willingness to keep turning pages, even when life writes unexpected chapters. Today's guest brings wit, imagination, adventure, and a whole lot of magic to the Tea Time table. Please join me in welcoming Deborah Wilde, best-selling author, storyteller, and creator of smart, funny, action-packed urban fantasy novels featuring fierce heroines, epic magic, mystery, and unforgettable adventures. After spending 12 years as a screenwriter, Deborah took a leap of faith into the world of fiction and never looked back. Since then, she has become known for creating strong, flawed, wise-cracking women who can solve mystery, battle supernatural forces, navigate romance, and still make time for the friendships that keep them grounded. A global wanderer and self-described hopeless romantic. Deborah's stories combine humor, heart, suspense, and empowerment while celebrating women who embrace their strength and imperfections. Today's Tea Time will explore the journeys from screenwriter to best-selling author, creating strong female characters, the roles of humor in storytelling, fantasy, mystery, and imagination, following creative dreams and embracing reinvention. Deborah reminds us that sometimes the most powerful magic isn't found in spells or supernatural worlds. Sometimes it's found in courage, friendship, and believing in ourselves. So grab your cup and join us for an inspiring conversation filled with laughter, creativity, storytelling, real life tea, truth, experience, and awareness. So let me get Deborah in here and let's put some tea together.
Hello, everybody.
Let me see. Do I got you? There we go. I think I got you. Can you hear me, Deborah?
I can. Hello, everybody.
There we go. I got you now.
Perfect.
Welcome to the show, Deborah.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is a pleasure. Deborah, tell us a little bit about who you were as a little girl and who you are now.
Oh, wow. I think I was a lot shyer as a little girl. I loved escaping into books. Especially things with fantastical elements in them. Some of my favorite things would be just to go and spend time in the library and, get as many books as I can, or even as a teenager, like, this is so nerdy, I would just browse card catalogs because they still had card catalogs, and I loved it. I loved going through and finding, like, oh, there's this topic or there's this topic, and finding books that way. And to this day, this is really, I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but to this day, I know my library card number off by heart and not my daughter's phone number. So there's that. But yeah, I was the shy kid and the avid reader girl who was also hopeless at most sports. Just to complete the stereotype there.
And it kind of gives the age away, right? The library cards. I love going through them because I love it. It made you feel like a little secretary, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And then I'd be reading the covers and I'd be like, oh, I got to go on a hunting search, right? You had to go on a little scavenger hunt to find the books.
Yeah, deep into the stacks.
Right? And who are you today, Deborah?
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm still finding myself. There's so many former parts of me that are still here. Sometimes I look around and I go, really? Am I already at this stage of my life? I'm sure I'm still 12 or 21 or, whatever. One thing that I think has maybe gotten stronger in me is I love still to travel. I love to have adventures. I got that from my grandmother. My grandmother was this amazing woman. She grew up in communist Russia, but she just, her spirit for adventure just never was dimmed. And I remember when I was a little girl, she would be like, okay, let's go get on this bus. She didn't drive. So we'd go and we'd take a bus somewhere, and then we'd just get to the other end and see what was there, like in the city. And I think that's where it started. And to this day, I love to travel. I find it really fills my creative well when I get to travel. I still love books. I love all kinds of good storytelling. But one thing that's really important to me now that I didn't have the self-awareness to recognize the importance of when I was younger, or much, much younger, is just my female friends are so important to me. And I think especially in this post-COVID world where they live all over the world. I don't have that many of them here with me in Vancouver. And so those connections, whether it's just a quick text or, some face-to-face Zoom time, or when we get to be together at a conference or whatever, that just really means the world to me. And so, yeah, that's so important.
Well, Deborah, you got like a smart. I'm going to curse a little bit tonight, guys, because I like Deborah's attitude when she comes to writing. You have some smart ass heroines in your stories, right?
I do.
Does those smart ass heroines have anything to do with grandma?
My grandmother wasn't sarcastic or snarky, but I was raised with my grandparents, so I lived with them and my mom and my brother and my uncle. It was this extended family, and humor was very much a way our family processed life, and the lens through which, you know, we all moved as a family. So my heroines are snarky where my grandmother was not. They don't punch down because I'm not interested in comedy that punches down, but definitely using humor to process my experiences is what I carry through into my characters.
Well, let's get a little bit into your characters in your book. We're going to bring up your book that I was sent by Mickey, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the screenwriting and all of that stuff. So let's pull up this amazing book, Throwing Shade. What's this book all about?
So Throwing Shade is the first in my Magic After Midlife series. And it was the first time, this was my third series. There's 7 books in it. And for people who can see the cover, it's a purple cover with a purple stiletto high heel with magic swirls all around it. And then it's got a little charm on it. It's a gold glittery skull and crossbones, but it's really cutesy. So I like to have fun with the magic, and you know, so it's an empowered woman and there's still a sense of cheeky fun and magic. It was my first heroine where I wrote an urban fantasy main character over 40, and I had wanted to do that from the beginning, and I didn't think there was or I wasn't sure there would be an audience or readers who wanted that, because it was really, urban fantasy was very much set in the world of 20 somethings, you know. And right before I wrote this, a group of 13 wonderful female authors created this genre called paranormal women's fiction, and they're known as the Fab 13, and they came at it from all different places. So some were paranormal romance, some were cozy fiction, some were urban fantasy. So it was a real spectrum of sort of magical adventure. But what paranormal women's fiction had in common was all the heroines were over 40. To varying degrees, like some are in their 60s, some are, and the reader response was incredible. And I was so heartened by that I wrote this series with Throwing Shade, the first book. So there's 7 books, as I said, in this series. And after that, I ended up writing a series that didn't have a 40-something heroine. And actually, for my new series that's coming out in October, I've gone back to that, because not only is there a real joy for me to be able to put different kinds of life experiences and different kinds of challenges, like Miriam, my main character in Throwing Shade, she's a single mom, and it's very different to have magic adventures and romance when you're a single mom, as opposed to you're in your 20s, right? You know, being the quote unquote chosen one. She's not a chosen one, but you know, that sort of idea is very different when you're responsible for somebody, you know, and you have to get home and make dinner, you know. And it also gives me some really wonderful creative opportunities and ways to bring in life experiences and life scars that are to be celebrated.
Deborah, tell me a little bit about this little yellow guy I see on this shoe.
Mm-hmm. That's the little skull and crossbones. So it's just the little element of danger. It's cheeky, but you know, there's still going to be danger in this series. It's not going to be an easy ride for Miriam.
Well, let's pull this book down so we can get you onto the screen, and then we have some questions that are coming in for you. So I'd like to get to the first one, and it's coming in from Davino. I hope I'm saying it right. Hi from here. Who else is excited to hear how Deborah's transition from screenwriting to novels? There's a question here that I wanted to get into you. Let me get this here. From Mario, 12 years of screenwriting is impressive. What gave you the courage to make such a big career change?
I'd like to say that it was courage, Mario. I think really it was a little bit of burnout. So I had been in the Canadian, I'm Canadian, and I was in the Canadian screenwriting industry, and the industry had really changed due to a lot of very boring CRTC regulations that I won't get into. But the long and short of it was that scripted dramas weren't being produced in the same way, and so the jobs weren't there. And I kept getting very close to lots of shows and film projects where it would almost get funded, and then it just would not get funded because they went with reality television, which is cheaper to produce. So I was feeling like I wasn't even sure if I wanted to keep writing anymore. And I decided at that point I would actually write YA novels. And I had a different pen name, which I've since taken down. I might revisit those books one day, but it was Tallulah Darling. And I decided my plan would be I would write five YA novels in 3 years and see if I still liked writing. And it turned out I loved novel writing because I got to be in control of things and sort of put in everything I love writing and all my influences in it. But I didn't want to write YA anymore. And so I switched over to my Deborah Wilde career launch with my Unlikable Demons Hunter series, and got to combine spicy romance and urban fantasy and old Hollywood, screwball banter, and away I went.
Well, for you, Deborah, what inspired you to the transition from screenwriting to novels? Besides, like the writing, the Canadian screenwriting, what got you into the novels besides that?
I think it was just wanting to see if I still enjoyed writing. Like, here was a different format. And, I knew that, I think at the time I thought more of my screenwriting chops would transition, or that it would be a very easy transition in some ways. And in some ways it was. My training and my experience as a screenwriter really was very beneficial in terms of plot, in terms of structure, in terms of writing dialogue, which is my happy place. At the same time, there were some incredible things that I had to grow and learn. And my wonderful editor, who's been with me for all 25 of my Deborah Wilde books, really pushed me very, very hard, especially in the early days. Because in screenplays, you don't write the environment. You might have one line of setup, but then there are departments that go and do that, right? They're making those choices, and you're not writing every action that the characters are doing. The actors would hate you if you did that. So that kind of thing, that how are they moving through the world, was a huge learning curve for me. And in fact, my editor used to write me comments like, are they all just sitting there still in a void? And I would be like, yes, they are. They're just sitting in a white room. Thank you for asking. So there was a lot of, it's funny because for a writer, I don't think visually. Again, dialogue is my happy place. The visuals are not. So I can't tell you how many Google image searches I've done, even to things of what does an executive's office look like, just so I can get inspiration and see it to be able to then figure out how I want to describe it.
Well, we have a couple comments that are coming in from Kathy.
You.
Deborah's energy is contagious. Your stories sound like they have so much heart and humor.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the humor that's in the stories that we can find.
I really loved, so if anybody else is a fan of old Hollywood, the old Hollywood great comedies like His Girl Friday, or, Philadelphia Story, or Bringing Up Baby, the banter in them is just, it's delicious. There's no other way for me to put it. So I love having that banter between my heroine and her romantic interest. But then as well, again, because of my processing the world with humor, her internal monologue, she can only ever get so earnest. My books, there are wonderful stories that are told with heart and earnestness, but those are not my books. My heroines only get so earnest, and then there's got to be like some kind of self-deprecating comment or wry observation that's gonna, come, because that's how I am, as my family knows all too well.
So Deborah brings you right to the top, and then boom, down you go.
Exactly.
Read the next book. But that's where you're going to go up again.
It's funny because I kind of feel like, I know that also for writing, I want to be writing in a place that has laughter for me. And I feel like, especially right now, and it's something I'm struggling with a little bit, because as much as it can be very hard right now to produce things that are funny, because I think we might all agree the world's a little challenging right now, maybe has been for a few years, that I think we need it more than ever. I think being able to laugh is just a wonderful thing, and I want to bring that to the world And it's something I gravitate to as well. So I feel like other people are going to want that as well.
We have a question here from Step Into the Valley. Do readers often tell you what heroine they relate to most?
Oh yes, my readers are very vocal with me. Especially, I have a Facebook group called Deborah's Wild Ones, and readers find me there, and I love them. I mean, they give me so much life, and they keep me going. But they are very vocal about their opinions. And they tell me which ones they relate to and which ones they do not. Yeah.
So how did you create the Facebook group? Like, come up with the name of the Facebook group?
Well, so Deborah is my real name. Wild is not my real name. It just sounded a lot better than my real last name. But then part of the reason I chose Wild was because I wanted to have I was already thinking ahead that I would want to have a reader group when I started this path, and that I wanted them to be my wild ones. So it was just kind of I quickly snagged that handle on all the social media, and I was like, all right, done.
I like it, the wild one.
I also like to-do lists, which also bleed into my heroines. My heroines very much like their to-do lists. And so I like having actionable items I can cross off. So
I love that. So do you have like a to-do list and a story? Like a little checklist?
Yeah, Miriam is constantly making to-do lists through the whole series. It's a whole thing that, and you know, she has a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan Z, 17 to-do lists. Like, yes. And that's me. You should see my to-do list on my phone. It's ridiculous. But I think I get a dopamine hit every time I cross it off. So everything goes on there. So I can feel good about like, oh, delete.
I did it. Well, we have a question from Jason. How much of being a global wanderer influences the world and characters you create?
Absolutely, it absolutely does. I like to. So when I go on trips, for example, I've included Prague and Dubrovnik in my books. I use elements of places I've been in when I create sort of alternate magic pockets of other worlds. But my own backyard is huge for me. All my series, even though there's no connection between any of my series, you can read them independently, although each series needs to be read in order, the books. They're all set in a version of Vancouver. And I love playing in my backyard, in my hometown, and finding ways to create different and unique versions of Vancouver to world build in.
What's one place in Vancouver that would surprise my listeners?
So this was a gimme. So it's funny. I didn't include vampires for somebody who writes urban fantasy. I didn't have vampires in any of my books until my third series, until the Throwing Shade Magic After Midlife series, because I didn't feel like I had anything to add to the conversation. You know, there's just so many authors who've just told such amazing vampire stories, starting with Anne Rice and going, you know, I mean, yes, Bram Stoker, but you know, Anne Rice more modernly in urban fantasy. So I had to find my way in, and the reason I think I was excited to find my way in and find a way to contribute to that conversation and bring something new about vampires to the table was because so Vancouver, one of Vancouver's oldest districts is called Gastown, and it's a very touristy area. It's cobblestone streets. There's lots of restaurants and cafes and little boutiques and stuff. There is a 2-block long stretch in Gastown called Blood Alley. And the urban legend is that it was like an abattoir and maybe there were executions. I don't know. It was a whole branding thing they came up with in the 70s. Like the whole public story is a lie. It's just, they just came up with this name because they thought it would be cool for this alley. But knowing that there was a blood alley, I was like, oh, this is vampire territory. Like this is like, oh yeah, I have to do something with this. So that really, I think, spurred me to find a way to do something cool with vampires just so I could use Blood Alley in that series. Yeah.
I just love the name Blood Alley. I got to go down that way and check it out. I've only been out to Edmonton, and I gotta get out to Vancouver. I gotta check out this Blood Alley.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's 2 blocks long. That's it. Like, there's not a lot to it. There's some restaurants. Like, it has this very, like, you know, magical, dangerous sounding name. And it's just a very pleasant little stretch.
Well, we have a question here from Bob, and it's, what inspired you to write women this way?
Can you define this way, Bob?
Like superheroes?
You mean just like the, yeah,
vampires?
do you mean like, or you mean,
we'll wait and see what Bob gives us.
Okay.
Well, I have a question that just came in from the studio, and it's, why are flaws and funnies heroines so important in storytelling? Important.
So I'll tell you actually what kicked off this whole Deborah Wilde journey. I had been reading a lot of articles, like a lot of articles, about how male fictional characters were allowed to be flawed and complicated and nuanced. And they cited characters like Tony Soprano and Dexter, and, you know, and that's true. But all these articles kept talking about how female fictional characters had to be likable. And it just got my hackles up, you know? It's like, why can't women be flawed? Like, I'm not disagreeing that there was a perception around that, yes, you know, women had to be likable. We see this in society as well as in fiction. But I just wanted to write somebody who was as messy and complicated as any of these men. And that's where my Unlikable Demon Hunter sort of popped into my head as my first book. And we kind of went from there. So I've never stopped writing because the women I know are complicated and messy and funny and smart and wonderful. So, you know, I'm trying to reflect my realities, and those heroines do that as well.
Deborah, how does humor help people process difficult emotions?
That's a very good question. I will only speak for me because I don't know how it helps other people. I think being able to laugh through tragedy. So I'm Jewish, and I feel like this is a cultural thing too, like the laughing through tragedy is, I don't know if that's a stereotype, but it was true in my family. Just sometimes, and sometimes it's gallows humor, and I'm not going to deny that, but I just feel like it allows me to surf that river sometimes if there's a lot of grief or a lot of tragedy, just by making that joke or that, you know, funny observation. It's just, sometimes I feel like I have to bring laughter to the tears.
You know, a lot of people say that to me too, because I bring in humor when it gets too heavy. It's my way of processing, right? To stay strong is throw a stupid joke in there. Like, you know, like, it's just like, it just lightens it up because it gets so heavy sometimes that you're just like, really, is it this heavy?
Yeah.
You know,
and maybe it's just a way to take a breath. I don't know, you know, like you laugh, you release. Okay, now I have a little bit more fortification to keep moving on.
Absolutely. Well, we have a question here from Real Estate with Kate, and it's, did your screenwriting experience make novel writing easier, or did it feel like starting over?
I thought it was going to make it easier, and it did in a lot of ways, in terms of the plot and the structure and the dialogue. So all that training was completely sound. I actually joke that I don't know how to write a novel. I just know how to write a very long prose screenplay. I think another thing that really helped me is most of my experience was in television. And at the time I was writing for like network television, right? So it was commercials, and you had to know how to have your act ends be compelling enough to bring people back after the commercial break. And so that, again, really, really helped when it came to chapter endings. You know, I want to craft something that even if somebody's tired and they just can't do that one more chapter, that, you know, tomorrow after they've, you know, whatever, had a long day at work, or, you know, whatever, they've been gardening all day and they're exhausted, they still can't wait to pick up the book and keep going. But yeah, it was more the, how do I describe the environment? How are people moving within a physical space that I really had to hone my craft on.
We have another question here from Citrus. Is there one heroine you've written who surprised you as her story unfolded?
So there's one heroine I killed off because I was so mad at her because she deviated so much from my
That's it, you're gone.
outline. So when I first started writing because of my screenwriting background, my first series, the Unlikable Demon Hunter books, were very tightly plotted, each book. I'm far looser now. But so here I had this wonderful, I don't even remember what the sequence was or which book it was in the series, but I remember she just veered so off course for me and went in such a different direction from what I had planned for the rest of the book. I got so angry, I killed her and I left her dead for 2 or 3 days. And then, I undid it and had to, I think I had to sit in the pity party because it was like what she had done. This is so funny because it's all still me, but what she had done was so much better than what I had crafted in my outline. So I had to accept the fact that the outline was not the direction the book was going in. My character was the direction. So yeah.
I've talked to a lot of authors. When you're killing off a character, does that character ever just say, you know what, I'm so sorry, I'll change the way? Do you have a conversation and mind to character over and say, you know what, smarten up or you're not coming back in the next one?
Yeah, well, I did say that to Nava, but Nava's not a character who apologizes, so no, I got no apology from her, which was very rude. What's funny though, just talking about killing characters, I have actually made myself cry with characters I've killed off, like genuinely killed off. They had to die for the story. But I have made myself, and even thinking about it now, I'm like, oh yeah, that still tears me up a bit, that one in particular.
What is one character that you have taken off that really touched the heart the most?
That I killed off?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't tell. It would spoil it. But
that's a spoiler. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. We can't do that. We can't give spoilers.
I'll just say there's a character in The Unlikable Demon Hunter who was very precious to me, and yeah. Oh well. They had to die.
So Deborah, when you're creating your novels, how do you come about the covers and that and the titles? Do you get the title first? Do you get the story first? Panic.
It varies with every series. So for my Unlikable Demon Hunter, I had the title and actually the first scene all kind of popped into my head at once. My second series, the Jezebel Files, I don't know how far I was into the first book before I started figuring out what the title framework of the series was going to be. Throwing Shade, I was writing it already, and she has shadow magic, so I knew I wanted everything to be a play on the word shade. And I actually remember sitting my friend down and going, okay, now you will help me come up with puns for everything we can think of for shade. So she was so funny. She didn't feel like working. She wanted to be distracted. So she just kept texting me all afternoon, about 13 different titles, of which many of them actually made it into the series. I think my funniest title experience was, so I had wanted to write a character that was half demon and hiding it. And I came up with the title Big Demon Energy. And I was so proud of myself because nobody had used this title when I did an Amazon search. I was so proud of myself that, and here, let me just preface this by saying, don't do this. I put the book up on pre-order with nothing but a title. I had no book idea. I had no cover. I had no nothing. I knew that I had a demon, a half demon who was hiding it, probably an operative of some sort. And I had this awesome title, Big Demon Energy, that made me laugh. Don't do that.
Because now I gotta write a book.
It turned out fine, but then there was I think I woke up and it was just this moment of, oh my God, what have I done? Because suddenly I was getting pre-orders. I was getting pre-orders on something that had nothing but a title to it. So I suddenly was like, oh, I better come up with something really fast. And then I passed.
What's the shortest time it's taken to write a book, Deborah? And what's the longest time it's taken?
I think I'm pretty consistent in how long it takes to write a book now. I have a very, very, I have friends and they're amazing. I don't know how their brains do this, but they can write a first draft and then it's one light edit and a proofread and it's out the door and it's fantastic. That's not me. And I think it's, again, a combination of my screenwriting training and my brain, how my brain works, is I do a first draft So I will think about it and figure out my world building and my magic system, because of course I reinvent it for every series, because why not? I get bored, but then at the same time I'm like, why am I reinventing it? Why don't I just stay in the same world? But no, I don't do that. So that can take me a month or two while I'm writing the final book of the previous series. I'm already thinking ahead. What am I going to do? What's the next thing going to be? And then it's like, okay, figuring out my outline to at least end of Act 1 with maybe some major beats dropped in. Once I write, I think it probably takes me about 2 to 3 months to write my first draft. And then I do a very extensive editing process. So I do 2 rounds of developmental editing with my author. So these are deep, like structural, thematic character rewrites. Then we do 2 line edits that are often just punching up for comedy. And then I send it to the proofreader. So all in all, from when I start writing, not the thinking about it part, it can take probably 6 to 8 months to do the book from opening that first page to getting it back from the proofreader.
Wow.
Uh,
You mentioned line edits. I haven't heard that before. What is line edits?
So with developmental edits, I get 2 types of feedback from my editor. One is an edit letter. And so those are just very long edit letters that she breaks into different subheadings. So they'll be like character, theme, romance, action, whatever. And then she'll write out sort of in prose form, all her notes about that. But then she also sends me the manuscript back, and there are comments in she makes comments like in Word. So for line edits, I only get those comments. I don't get an edit letter. I'll just get those comments.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. I'm always learning something from my guests. We have a question here from Podcast Show. It is, Deborah, what advice would you give someone who has been afraid to pursue their creative dreams?
Go for it. Go for it. And if it's writing in particular, the thing I will say is finish your first draft. I taught screenwriting for years, and that was the advice I gave all my students, because I know firsthand how tempting it can be to just keep rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. And there's never going to be a perfect story. And the thing about, here's advice I got. This is not my advice. I think it's very smart advice, and so I pass it on whenever I can. I was in a workshop one day, and a screenwriter that I was taking the workshop from said, you don't mine finished jewelry. You mine the raw materials, and then you refine them and you refine them until you get the rings and the brooches and, the beautiful necklaces. And I've always thought about that, because if you don't mine that jewelry, if you don't, the raw goods, like if you don't finish the first draft, you can't go back and see what sparkles in there, and what you want to keep and what's worth saving and what gets you excited and what you hate. And that's okay. So I always give myself permission to write the worst first draft imaginable. That's what I tell myself every single time. As I'm writing my first draft, I hate writing first drafts because I don't have any feedback. I'm much better once I have feedback from my editor. But give yourself permission. Just tell yourself this is going to be the worst piece of poo ever, and then it'll be your editor's problem or the friend you have read it or whatever. But it'll be done, and you're not going to hate it as much as you think, as much as you're telling yourself you're allowed to. That's not going to happen. Yeah.
Deborah, any of the books that you've written, would you like to see them turned into a film or a series or anything like that?
Yes, that is my dream. That's my big dream, is to have something adapted to television. It's things have been optioned, but I know firsthand from being in that industry, it's hard. It's hard to get things made.
Well, we have a question here. Why do fantasy worlds often reflect real emotional truths?
I think a lot about Star Trek with that kind of question, or sci-fi in general, like these alien worlds that allowed us to explore social and cultural, issues in our own world. And I think maybe it's a little easier to have that distance. And also, as writers, we can craft it to fit our needs. It doesn't have to perfectly reflect reality, but it can do it in enough of a way that we can get to the heart of the matter we want to explore.
What makes paranormal women's fiction resonate so strongly with readers?
You know, I'm a Gen Xer, and we grew up watching Buffy when it came out, and Charmed, and Hocus Pocus, and we read the Anne Rice books, and and then the representation stopped. I mean, so I think there is a just we don't become invisible once we turn 40. Just why is that magic, those adventures not being shown on screen to us anymore? And so I find that people who loved fantasy when they were younger continue to love it and want to see where they're at now, reflected in those pages, in those stories.
We have some more questions coming in. It is from Citrus. It's, what has been the most rewarding part of becoming a best-selling author?
There is no rush like having somebody I don't know from some random part of the world email me and tell me how much they love my books. Like, that will never get tired. I will never be jaded to that. It is the most incredible gift that I put this out there and somebody responded and loved it. And when they say I made them laugh, that's it. That's like the ultimate compliment to me, that I made somebody laugh.
It's always good to read a book, right? And then you're in a room full of people and you just start laughing and they're like, what is she laughing at?
Yeah. My poor husband, though, because I make him listen to my audiobooks. So when my narrator, like right now, actually, so my narrator has uploaded her files. And so he's listening through just for any like mispronunciations, or, if there's just a background noise that she needs to get rid of, because she's amazing. She doesn't really need direction. But sometimes I'll just hear him laughing, and he hates it because I'll be like, what was it? What were you laughing at? What was the thing? Where? Tell me. And he's just like, back off.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And then he never knows like what parts of our conversation are going to make it into books. Like, he'll just come up and he'll be like, so I read that passage. And I'm just like,
Oh, we have another question here. It's from Davio. I hope I'm saying it right. Have readers ever shared stories about how your books impacted their lives?
I think the most common thing I get is that they were able to escape into them. And, people will reach out. Like, I had pulled a book before the one that's coming out in October. I had spent 8 months writing a book, and at the end of it all, for a lot of reasons, I decided to pull it. And the reason I decided to pull it was, even though it was very good, I had written this book to deal with my mom's dementia. And the magic system was based on memory loss. And I needed, what I realized in the end was this book, well, with the help of a friend who actually pointed it out for me, because I couldn't figure out why I was so resistant to putting this book out. This book was a lot darker than the rest of my books, and it was not somewhere I wanted to live, and it was not what I wanted to put into the world, even though it was a very good book, and I think it had a lot of very valid things to say. And I was really nervous. I've never pulled a book on my readers before. I was really nervous about telling people, and I had been very transparent about, I have a newsletter and that my readers get once a month, and I share, whatever behind the scenes things, whatever. So I'd been very transparent about why I was writing this book to begin with. They knew about this, and I told them about all of it. And so many people reached out to me and were so supportive, but they also shared their stories and things, parents said they were dealing with that had dementia or whatever. And a lot of them, went that extra distance to tell me that my books allowed them to just escape that for a while. And as somebody who, I have those authors that do that for me, again, like that's really precious to me.
Deborah, we have a question here from Lucy, and it's, Deborah, which of your books would you recommend for someone discovering your work for the first time?
Okay. I think one of my sort of an entry point that I think lots and lots of people love jumping into is my Jezebel Files series. And it's my noir PI enemies to lovers series. So yes, I would say start with the Jezebel Files, or Magic After Midlife if you're looking particularly for a heroine who's over 40. Definitely go that, and then jump back to the others.
Deborah, what makes you a hopeless romantic?
I love happily ever afters. I love love stories. You know, I started reading romance when I was 14 years old and I never stopped. Um, a good love story just, kicks me in the heart in the best way.
Did you read Daniel Steele books?
Oh God, yes. Oh yes. So many. So many.
Well, let's get into your tea. The tea that you gave me tonight is tongue in cheek. So let's talk with the tongue in cheek. What's it with the tongue in cheek? And then we'll get on to the other words.
Cheeky, just cheeky, being cheeky. I'm cheeky, my heroines are cheeky. That's how we look at life.
And the second word you gave me was entertaining.
Well, I hope I'm doing that. If I'm not entertaining people with my books, then there's a big problem and I should find a new career.
And the last word you gave me was audacity. Am I saying right? Audacity?
Audacity. Yeah, I'm poking at some things. I like to have my characters, like for example, Magic After Midlife. It's about the invisibility that I felt and other of my friends have felt, and certain readers have reached out to me about that they felt after turning 40. So I like to poke at certain things and explore them, and so that's a little audacious, I think.
And I got to say it right? I said it correctly?
Yes.
I was struggling before the show went live. I was just like, I don't know if I can do it. Can I do it? No, I don't know. I second guess all the time. We have a question here is, what role does female friendship play in your books?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. There's always, in my first 4 series, there's always that one female friend that is the ride or die. Like it's so important. They go through challenges. It's not always smooth sailing because friendships aren't, because again, people are complicated. But I in fact wanted to push that even more. And in my new series, Mad Queens Inc., it's the main character runs a magic problem solving agency with her 3 best friends. Because again, they're between 45 and 52. And I wanted to strike a balance of a friend group, and have different personalities at play. And like I said earlier, my female friendships, my friend groups are so important to me that I wanted to have more than just the one friend.
And Deborah, what does empowerment mean to you as a writer?
As a writer or for my characters?
As a writer. We'll get to the characters after the writer. We'll do the writer first. Writer or should die?
That's a really good question. I mean, I don't even know. Being able to write is a privilege, and I'm really lucky I get to do this. I'm lucky that readers respond. I'm lucky that I was in a position that when I first started out, that my husband was able to support me doing this. So yeah, I think empowerment is privilege, it's luck, it's timing, it's stubbornness. It's doing things with "I'll show you" as a motivation. I think it's a very complicated thing for me as a writer. And it's also not falling on bad habits and doubting myself, which is something I mean, all of us or many of us struggle with. Yeah.
Well, and we talked about that before we went live, doubting ourselves.
Yeah.
Why do you think women doubt themselves so much?
I think we're conditioned to. I don't know. I don't think we get the unequivocal praise perhaps that boys do. I don't know. I can't speak for the boys and the men, but I feel like a lot of praise or compliments I was given growing up, whether it be from my mother or teachers or whatever, there were always conditions built in. It wasn't just something offered freely and unequivocally.
Yeah. It's for all my listeners out there, if you're a woman and you're listening, why do we self-doubt ourselves? I'd love to hear your answers on that one, because I self-doubt myself all the time. Just before we went live, I was self-doubting myself. So let's get some answers out there on why we're self-doubting so much. I
I
got some
wonder too
lightning
if it
bolt.
goes, sorry, I
Go
was going to
ahead.
say, I wonder too if it goes back to just that we feel we need to be likable. There's this pressure to be likable, and if you have too much confidence, that typically, I'm seeing, it's different now, I think, with young women I'm seeing, and I think that's wonderful. Like my daughter is very confident, and I love that. I don't want her to ever lose that. But I don't think that was something that was encouraged in us. It wasn't likable. It wasn't nice. Don't be too confident. That's, you know.
That does make sense to where, because we come from a different time, right, where we weren't given that opportunity to be confident, right? We were the back burner, like, be the wife, be the homemaker, don't have a voice. We're in today's world, we're encouraging women to have that voice.
Take up space. I love that. I love seeing women who take up, of any age, who take up space.
So in most of your books, are they in their 40s, all the heroines?
No, it's just Magic After Midlife series and my new series, Mad Queens Inc. that is coming out. Yeah. The others are Nava's in her early 20s, the Unlikable Demon Hunter books. Jezebel Files, she's 28 when it starts, and then 30. And then my other character, Aviva in Bedeviled AF, is 30.
And I got some lightning bolt questions here for you, so just some really quick answers.
Okay.
Magic power you'd actually want to have?
Flying, because I'm terrified of flying.
Oh. Romance or mystery first when writing?
Mystery, urban fantasy, magic mystery first, and the romance is the subplot.
Oh. Favorite writing snack?
That depends. I really veer between salty and sweet, so either. Chocolate chip cookies are always welcome.
One word that defines your heroines?
Smart, brackets, ass.
I love it. And what's more powerful, humor or magic?
Humor.
Oh, want to tell me why?
Because for me, it lets me cope. There's not always magic, but I can always find humor.
And how do you balance humor, romance, and deeper emotional themes when writing your books?
That's why I have all those edits.
The edit person comes in. Da, 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 da.
That's how I do it. That's the secret sauce.
I don't know why I seen, but I just seen like this. Da, 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 da. Editor walks into the room.
Exactly. Interior. Daytime.
Oh, what advice would you give aspiring women writers afraid to take creative risks today?
Take it. It's nobody has to give you permission. If you want to do it, do it. And there's all kinds of reasons why we want to write. It doesn't have to be to publish. It doesn't have to be to have a career. It doesn't, if writing makes you happy, take it one step at a time and see where you want to go with it.
And I want to talk to you a little bit about your merch that you have on your website. Could you share a little bit about the merch? You got clothing, you got houseware, and you got stickers, girl. What?
Oh yeah, I know. You know what? I have to say, I'm actually planning on burning the merch down, because right now it's mostly like logos that my designers designed for my series on my covers, and I want to have. Okay, everybody should understand my books have a lot of swearing in them, So I want to have a whole line of F-word merch, sort of funny slogans around that. I don't know. I'm sort of mulling over ideas, but I need to completely reconfigure and my merch line, but I don't know what it is yet.
She's gonna burn the merch. Miss Liz, why'd you bring the merch up?
Merch line, I'm burning it down.
I want to talk to you. You have 5, I found 5 ebooks, 5 audiobooks, 5 paperbacks, and 4 signed books. And you have them translation into Dutch and French. Is that all your books that are translated?
No, I don't have any Dutch translations. So I have all 4 of my completed series are translated into German.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2 of them are translated into French, and that's all I've got right now. I do want to add more. I'd like to get into Italian actually, but I need to. That's for next year. Me, I can't take on more projects this year.
And Deborah, what kind of final message would you like to leave all the listeners tonight?
Go out and lose yourself in a great story.
Oh, I love it. Well, Deborah, and I want to talk to you about your favorite color before we wrap it up. You gave me the color purple. Why purple?
I've always been drawn to the color purple. I just think it's beautiful and rich and wonderful, and for me, it evokes magic.
Well, I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm just going to pull your book up one more time for all the listeners and viewers out there to watch, to see. If you could just tell us where to get the book, and if you could spell out your website for all my audio listeners.
Sure. The best place to get all my stuff, it's available. All my books are available on all the retailers. So if you love Amazon or Kobo or Apple or Google Play, Barnes & Noble, in ebook and audiobook and paperback. But the best place to get it, because you get the best deals, is if you actually buy direct from me. I have my own bookstore because that was a dream I wanted, and I got to virtually realize that dream. And so the bookstore is deborahwildebooks.com. So DEB as in Bob, ORAH, WILDE books.com. And there's discounts there. There's early releases there. It's the only place you can get most of my bundles. And I can price it less than at the retailers because I don't have to give them a cut.
And Deborah, do you have any events or any book signings coming up that you'd like to mention?
I don't have any book signings coming up, unfortunately. No, it's just going to be me in my office huddled down.
Trying not to kill off her.
Trying not to kill off my next character. Listen, it came close today. It was touch and go, but she's still alive. So for now, we'll see. We'll see how she behaves.
Well, I really enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed everybody tuning in and bringing your questions. This was an amazing time together.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was fantastic.
Oh, we had a couple glitches there. I just didn't hear you for a second. Go ahead, Deborah.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you, everybody. They were great questions, and I really loved hanging out with all of you this past hour.
Well, thank you, guys. I'm just going to do a quick recap of what tonight is and give you a little bit to take away. What an absolutely delightful conversation. Deborah, thank you for bringing your humor, creativity, wisdom, and vibrant energy to the tea time table. Your journey reminds us that success often begins with the courage to trust our creative instincts and pursue the stories waiting inside us. Tonight, we explored writing, imagination, strong female characters, reinvention, friendships, and the importance of embracing our authentic voices. One of the strongest takeaways from tonight is this: the most compelling heroes are not perfect, they are human. Through your stories, readers meet characters who are brave, flawed, resilient, funny, and determined, much like the people we encounter in everyday life. You also reminded us that creativity thrives when we allow ourselves permission to take risk, explore possibilities, and trust the journey, even when we cannot see the entire path ahead. As we close tonight's tea time, I leave everyone with this thought: what stories are you still carrying inside that deserve to be told? Because every life contains chapters of courage, growth, heartbreak, joy, and transformation worth sharing. Thank you, Deborah, for inspiring readers around the world through your imagination, your storytelling, and your fearless approach to creating characters who leave a lasting impact. Until next time, keep writing, keep imagining, and keep serving real-life tea, one conversation at a time. And tonight's takeaway is: magic isn't always about supernatural power. Sometimes the greatest magic comes from finding your voice, embracing your journey, and daring to become exactly who you were meant to be. And I'll see everybody, and we'll do this all over again. Tomorrow, we have 2 tea times, Thursday 2 tea times, and Friday 2 tea times. So I'll see everybody, and we'll do this all over again. Thank you guys for joining me tonight on Tea Time.